He had everything, except the courage to love her in daylight. Strings hum like a secret heartbeat. Gold and glass flicker under chandeliers that watched them once before. Ethan halts. Across the marble, Lena leans gently into another man, polite, pained. The sterling plaque behind them gleams like a betrayal. Whispers grow fangs. That's her? She moved on? A guard speaks into his mic. Cameras pivot. Ethan grips a champagne flute like an anchor. Breathing hurts. His voice stays low, but the confession cracks. I stayed silent and watched her forget how I loved her. Then, a pause that burns. In 1 minute, you'll understand why a CEO walked away from his inheritance, just to keep her name out of scandal. The chandelier throws shards of memory across the room. She turns. He doesn't look away. The music continues, but something is ending, and this time it's not silence. Yesterday morning, the sterling boardroom breathed money and order. Market tickers crawled across the glass. Stacks of M&A binders sat like calm threats. The city glimmered past the windows. Ethan caught his reflection and felt boxed in, a life inside a frame. His phone buzzed. Vivian. Remember, protect the image. He didn't answer. The word image settled over the table like a dress code. Strict, silent, always on. Another buzz. Lena. Draft, FSIO speech. He pictured the floor plan he'd studied at midnight. Classrooms with working Wi-Fi, a small lab where kids could touch code for the first time, scholarship plaques with names that didn't exist yet. He could see her notes in the margins. Clean, steady, turning chaos into steps. His thumb hovered. Reply would mean a choice. Not just work, but where he stood. Duty pushed one way, fear leaned the other. He slid the phone into his pocket and faced the room. Let's review risk, he said, voice even. Outside, numbers kept moving. Inside, something else finally did. Morning in Harlem. On the kitchen counter, a weekly pillbox for her mother, a stack of folded bills, and a sticky note that says, "You are enough." The note is old around the corners. She leaves it anyway. Some reminders have to stay. Lena warms leftover coffee and checks the pill times. She counts softly under her breath. Monday. Tuesday. The rhythm steadies her hands. She tucks 2 envelopes into a folder marked "Due," then closes it like a promise. Her brother drifts in, backpack open, headphones hanging off one ear. He tries to act taller than he is. She smiles and places a Metro card in his palm. Don't lose it. I won't. A quick hug, a real one. The kind that fixes a morning. Sunlight cuts through the blinds and lays small ladders across the floor. Dust lifts in the beam. The apartment is quiet in the good way. Clean dishes, one plant that refuses to die, shoes by the door lined up like they believe in order. At the mirror by the hallway, Lena stops. She studies her face the way you check a compass. She lifts her hands to her hair, natural, soft, and present, and smooths a curl back into place. No apology in the motion, only care. Her phone pings with 3 new messages. Work, rumors, numbers. She pockets it for later. Breath in, shoulders down. The sticky note waits by the pillbox. She taps it once with her finger and heads out. The open office hummed. Keyboards, vents, a milk frother somewhere pretending to be busy. Lena signed in and pulled up the FSIO deck. Numbers settled her. Assumptions lined up like rails. A coworker drifted over, smile polite, eyes skimming. You're so articulate. The pause did the work. Lena didn't blink. The word is qualified. Silence nudged the edges of the row. Totally, he said, retreating with a laugh that didn't land. 10 minutes later, the team huddled by a screen. Dylan ran the slide she built, community reach, scholarship tiers, cost per cohort. He clicked through it like it arrived by courier. We've added a new line on impact, he said. Heads nodded at him. Lena kept her voice level. I wrote that section. Happy to walk everyone through the data and the model. A beat. The manager smiled tight. Team effort, she said, moving on. Air went dense. Slack pinged and pretended nothing happened. Lena typed a quick note to herself. Document everything. She saved the deck under her name and timestamp. Then she reopened the assumptions because work still has to be good, even when the room isn't. Across the floor, the word articulate still echoed like a rule she hadn't agreed to. She let it pass. Not forgotten, just noted. She had numbers to defend and a community to build. Copper and vinyl smelled like espresso and old records. A turntable clicked in, a soft crackle under a slow soul track. Maya slid into the booth, smile bright. Being that close to the CEO? Pressure? Lena wrapped both hands around her mug. Pressure is deadlines, not proximity. A polite smile. Steam rose between them. Maya angled her phone like she was checking email. The camera chirped. Snap. Another. She flipped the screen and typed fast. A story went up with the cafe tag and a caption, Team Night? Her thumb hovered over the sticker tray, then dropped a wink emoji. The record hissed through a quiet groove. Lena clocked it, let the moment pass, and slid a folder across. FSIO needs 3 computer labs at launch. We're modeling access after the library system. Barcodes, late fee amnesty, weekend hours. Maya nodded, eyes back on the phone. Cute. I mean, smart. Ethan sign off yet? We're aligning on budget and outcomes, Lena said. Kids first, then adult classes, resume clinics, interview prep. Ambitious, Maya said, voice warm, eyes cool. On her screen, the story lit with a few quick views. One comment. The record popped, then settled. Lena took a breath. We'll need volunteers for the pilot intake. You good with data entry next week? Totally, Maya said, already framing the room for another shot. Lena smiled again, professional and steady. She kept the talk on FSIO, on labs, timetables, and the people who'd use them. The vinyl kept turning. So did the story. The scanner chirped beep, red. The receptionist smiled without softness. Members only. Lena held up the embossed invite. This is for tonight's event. Members and their guests, the woman said. House rules? A couple of older men paused by the coat check. Their eyes lingered, cool and certain. One adjusted a cufflink like a verdict. A guard stepped closer, palm open, voice low. Ma'am, if you could just step back from the desk. Lena did not flinch. I'm here for the Sterling program preview. Understood, he said, still guiding air between them. If you could wait by the rope. She moved a single pace. Not retreat, just space. The room smelled like lemon polish and old money. On the wall behind the desk, a donor board gleamed under a brass lamp. At the top, Sterling, etched deep gold on marble. Ethan came in on a gust of winter air and stopped. He saw Lena by the rope. He saw the red light still pulsing on the scanner. He saw Sterling spelled larger than the rules everyone kept quoting. The receptionist straightened. Mr. Sterling. The guard eased back a half step. The older men watched with new interest. Ethan's jaw set, but his voice stayed even. Good afternoon. He looked from Lena to the plaque, then back to the desk. The anger rose, hot and quick. He held it where it belonged, behind his ribs, not on her shoulders. Let's sort this, he said. They stepped into the side hall, away from the rope and the stairs. A floor manager hurried over, name tag straight, smile fixed. Ethan kept his tone level. I'd like the policy in writing. Membership. Guests. Event access. All of it. The manager blinked. Of course, Mr. Sterling. Our rules are standard. Then send them, Ethan said. Today. He turned to Lena, not around her. We'll handle this properly. She met his eyes. I don't need a door opened for me. I need respect, not a favor. The manager rushed to fill the air. I'm sure this was a misunderstanding. We'll review with staff. Review is good, Ethan said. So is clarity. Email the policy and the incident log. A beat. No handshake offered, none taken. The waxed floor smelled like lemons in history. The manager tried again. If Ms. Carter comes as your guest, Lena cut in, calm. If I come as a professional invited to an event. Right, the manager said, smile thinning. We'll look into it. Ethan handed a card. My office, 24 hours. He slid the extra invite back to Lena. Not rescue. Alignment. They walked toward the exit together, the club's quiet pressing at their backs. Lena exhaled. Thanks for not making a scene. Scenes don't fix policy, Ethan said. Outside, winter air met them clean and cold. Harlem? He asked. Harlem, she said. St. Augustine carried a soft prelude. The choir warmed their voices. Colored light slid through stained glass and laid quiet blues and reds across the pews. Lena sat near the aisle. Ethan took the spot beside her and kept his hands still. He looked like a man out of uniform. An elder stood and faced them. His suit was neat, his eyes steady. Are you here for love, son? He asked. Or for image? The room held its breath. Ethan rose. I'm here to listen, he said, and to learn. I won't ask you to excuse me. I'm asking to hear you. A murmur moved through the sanctuary. A few faces softened. A few stayed guarded. Someone whispered, We'll see. The elder nodded once. Listening is a start, he said. Action is the lesson. Ethan dipped his head. Yes, sir. Another deacon spoke about the kids who needed Wi-Fi after school. A choir mother added the price of inhalers and bus fare. Lena took notes and asked for names, not titles. The list grew. Between testimonies, the choir held a low chord. It felt like a hand on a shoulder. Ethan kept quiet. He let the stories land. When the benediction ended, the elder shook Lena's hand. He looked at Ethan, not past him. Come back, he said. Bring receipts. I will, Ethan answered. Outside, the light felt different, softer, focused. The hallway felt busier than usual, heels, badges, small talk that watched itself. Maya paused by the window, phone tilted low. A new message opened in her personal inbox. Subject, favoritism, off the record. Body, you'll want this one, call me. She hit send to a blogger she used to know, then cleared the notifications and slid the phone into her blazer like nothing happened. Back at her desk, the company chat lit up. Hashtag water cooler. Anyone see the cafe post? Then a sticker dropped into Lena's DMs, a wink with teacher's pet pasted across it. Lena read it once. Screenshots, saved. She closed the window and reopened the FSIO model. Cells lined up. Logic still mattered. Maya drifted by, coffee in hand, smile set to half. Busy day? Always, Lena said, calm as a checklist. Stay hydrated, Maya added, and kept walking. Across the floor, whispers stitched themselves into a thread. Proximity. Special access. Must be nice. The words had a shape Lena knew too well. She noted the channel, time, sender. Then she breathed, slow and low, and pulled the deck she'd built. If they were going to talk, let the numbers be louder than the noise. Her calendar pinged. 2:00 p.m. Contract review, room 9B. She gathered her laptop and a pen that clicked clean. Inhale, exhale. The door to 9B waited at the end of the hall. The small conference room held a careful quiet. A pen kept time on the table. Tap, pause, tap. Ethan and Lena sat closer than usual, chairs edged in. Voices low. Work first, boundaries clear. On the draft, one line mattered. Community safeguard. Lena read it, steady. Guaranteed access, transparent metrics, local hiring, grievance hotline. Ethan nodded. Add independent audits, quarterly. Publish the results. She typed. The cursor crawled like a stitch. Escalation path, she asked. Board oversight, he said. Name the committee, give it teeth. Her finger rested on a soft verb. Change may to will, she said. People hear the difference. He smiled, small and real. Change it. They both leaned toward the same sentence. Hands hovered in the same square of light. Almost. They eased back at the same time. The pen went still. Breath evened out. Line held. Lena printed a clean page and slid it across. Your turn to mark, she said. Ethan took the corner, careful not to graze her hand. We're close, he said. On the language. On the language, she echoed, and saved the file with today's date. Outside, the office churned with keyboards and meetings. Inside, the clause stood firmer than before. Not romance, not rescue, just the words that would protect real people when the noise got loud. She capped the pen. He folded the draft. The work moved forward. So did everything they hadn't said. The Sterling townhouse held its breath. Oil portraits watched from dark frames. Velvet drapes kept the street out. Silverware chimed, soft, sharp, then stilled. Vivian set down her wine and smoothed a napkin that didn't need smoothing. Our tradition does not allow missteps, she said. Each word polished, like the silver. Ethan kept his back straight. What you call a misstep, I call a decision, he answered, voice even. For the work, for FSIO. Another faint clink. A knife met a plate and rang like a warning. Image has carried this family for generations, Vivian said. You do not gamble with it. Not for a project. Not for complications. He didn't look away. They're not complications. They're people. Across the table, Evelyn rested a hand on the carved chair back. She didn't speak. Her eyes were warm, steady, the kind that told a boy to breathe before he knew how. The small rub of her thumb along the wood said more than a speech. Vivian's smile didn't reach her eyes. You will guard what we've built. We guard it by doing right, Ethan said. By being seen, doing right. Silence spread, thin as glass. The silver clicked again, a tiny bell in a room with no air. Evelyn lifted her water and nodded once, almost to herself. It felt like a quiet permission. Ethan folded his napkin. "I hear you," he said to Vivian. He meant it. He also meant to choose anyway. Morning hit the open floor like a push alert. Slack bloomed with threads. Emails stacked with subject lines that looked the same. FYI, heads up, you know what. Little eyes emojis drifted through channels that had no business talking about people. Lena set her bag down and walked to her desk. A neat row of empty chairs lined the aisle beside her, seats that used to fill first. The gap said what the messages wouldn't. She slipped on her headphones. Not music, just the soft wash that blocks the edges of a room. Her screen woke to her list. FSIO. Needs assessment. She opened a fresh tab and typed what mattered. Number of machines per lab, weekend staffing, hotspot checkouts, ADA access, translation support. The work steadied her breath. Pings kept tapping the glass of her focus. She didn't feed them. She documented what needed documenting, then went back to outcomes and cost per cohort. A sticky note on her monitor, "You are enough," caught the light and held it. Across the row, a black colleague met her eyes and gave a small nod. No speech, just a clean line of recognition. Lena nodded back. Armor doesn't always clang. Sometimes it's quiet. She saved the sheet and sent herself a time-stamped copy, then another for the shared drive. Chairs stayed empty. The to-do didn't. Near the elevators, a security badge scanner chirped. Voices lowered, a tone people use when someone important steps in. Lena kept typing. The numbers still had to line up. The revolving door sliced the lobby air and let winter ride in. Security straightened before the man cleared the mat. Gavin Hale. Gray cashmere, quiet shoes, a wristwatch that caught every light. He didn't present a badge. The scanner chirped anyway and turned green. "Morning, Mr. Hale," the guard said, voice a notch lower than usual. A whisper drifted from reception to the sofas and back again. "The cleaner." He nodded once, polite but practiced. A leather portfolio rode in his left hand, initials pressed into the spine. He checked his watch, not the clock on the wall. Time belonged to him, or looked like it did. Across the mezzanine rail, Lena glanced down. She didn't recognize the face, only the reaction he caused. Shoulders squared, voices thinned. The kind of silence that follows a storm even when the sky is clear. Gavin paused at the center of the floor and took the room in like inventory. The sterling crest gleamed in the marble. He didn't smile at it. He didn't need to. At the bank of elevators, a car slid open on its own. Priority lit above the doors. No one had pushed the button. "Appreciate the pass-through," he told the head of security. "Welcome back," the man replied, as if the building remembered him. Gavin stepped in. The doors drew shut with a soft seal, catching a last glint off the watch face. On the mezzanine, Lena felt the lobby exhale. Then the emails started coming faster. The elevator opened with a soft slide. Lena stepped in, thumb still warm from the keyboard. Buzz. Hudson Heritage Gala. Invitation confirmed. Location, time, dress code. A gold badge icon blinked like a dare. Buzz again. Rumor alert. A push from a write-up she didn't subscribe to. Preview line, too close to the boss. Then the eyes emoji. Then a link. She didn't tap. She let the screen dim and watched herself in the brushed steel panel. The reflection gave her two versions. One lit, one in shadow. Shoulders back, chin up. Inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 4. The breath steadied like a metronome. Another ping tried to climb the moment. She flicked the phone to Do Not Disturb and slid it into her pocket. The invite could sit. The rumor would not set her pace. Her fingers found the seam of her blazer and flattened it smooth. A curl fell forward. She tucked it back without apology. For half a second, she thought of the sticky note on the kitchen counter. "You are enough." She didn't need to see it to use it. The car hummed as the doors began to close. Light from the hallway cut across the panel and split her face, half bright, half not. The line looked sharp as a promise. On the screen, the rumor alert preview pulsed once more, then disappeared behind the lock screen. The doors met. Silence held. Floor numbers climbed. The optics meeting started with a slide that said nothing and everything. Headlines, sentiment charts, a red arrow inching down. A partner cleared his throat. For optics, we should remove Lena from FSIO. Temporary. Protect the program. Ethan's hand found a pen. The barrel pressed a crescent into his thumb. The CMO leaned in. Brand risk is real. We can't let the project get defined by chatter. Reassign her quietly. Message continuity. The CFO tapped a spreadsheet. The market hates scandal. Even rumors move multiples. We keep the story clean. We keep the stock calm. Someone said, no personal offense, which always means there will be some. On the screen, FSIO blurred under the graphs. The word community looked small next to risk. Ethan rolled the pen cap half a turn. Then another. Click, stop, click. He kept his voice even. You're saying the data points justify a personnel shift. We're saying protect the asset, the partner replied. Limit her visibility. Let the heat die. A junior VP added, Optics are half the work, sir. Silence laid itself over the table. The pen cap stopped moving. Ethan didn't nod. He didn't shake his head. He let the room sit with its own argument. We'll take this under review, he said at last. Send me your recommendations in writing. Laptops snapped. Chairs scraped. The deck moved on to budgets. The pen stayed in his hand, warm now, weighty as a choice he hadn't made. Dinner at the Sterling townhouse moved in careful motions. Crystal, linen, the steady tick of a clock. Vivian set down her glass and looked at her son. You have a responsibility to them, not to her. Ethan's knife paused over the plate. He didn't answer. Not yet. She continued, voice smooth as policy. This family built standing that outlasts news cycles. You don't risk that because an employee has become complicated. He placed the knife on the rim. The fork followed. The soft chime rang longer than it should. Across the table, Evelyn folded her hands. She didn't rush. She didn't scold. Tradition, she said, gentle and firm, is not an excuse to be unkind. The room shifted on that word. Vivian's smile didn't move. Kindness is private. Reputation is public. Ethan met her eyes. Community is public too. Vivian lifted a shoulder. Community doesn't sit on this ledger. Another beat. Thick air. Quiet like thunder. Evelyn's gaze found Ethan, warm and steady. It felt like a hand on a boy's back from years ago. Breathe. Stand up straight. Choose. He folded his napkin, then smoothed it flat. I hear what you're saying, he told Vivian. I also hear what you're not saying. And what is that? She asked. That doing right has a cost, he said. So does not doing it. No one reached for the silver. The clock kept time. Ethan held his seat and the line he would not cross. HR called Lena in with a printout on the table, professional hair standards, language like neat, natural tones, no extreme textures, the kind of lines that say more than they write. Lena stayed calm. I want to flag a compliance issue, she said, opening a browser tab. On the screen, Crown Act, State and City Guidance. She scrolled to the section on natural and protective styles. This policy, as written, could target lochias, twists, braids, afros. That creates unequal impact. It also conflicts with our DEI commitments and, in several jurisdictions, the law. The HR manager's tone softened. We meant professional standards, not. I hear that, Lena said. You can say professional and still name what's protected. Something like natural and protective hairstyles are permitted across all roles. Grooming policies will be applied without bias. Clear language prevents selective enforcement. A beat. The AC hummed. The cursor blinked. We'll review with legal, HR said. Thank you for bringing this. We will update. Lena nodded. I'll email you the references. Back at her desk, an all-staff notice hit inboxes. Policy. Update, hair and cultural styles, effective immediately. Explicit protections listed. A link to the Crown Act resources. 2 pings followed, one from HR, appreciate the guidance, and a quiet, thank you, from a colleague she barely knew. Lena exhaled and reopened the FSIO spreadsheet. Small win logged, bigger work ahead. She checked the time, saved her notes, and kept going. The link hit PR first. Subject line, leaked Marble Ridge video. On the screen, a lobby camera clip played on loop. The scanner flashed red. The receptionist mouthed, members only. Lena stepped back 1 pace. Calm, measured. Comments stacked under a repost. Let her in. This is 2025, right? Policy, my foot. The PR director pulled people into a quick huddle. "We need a holding line, fact-based, no finger-pointing, acknowledge review." Someone typed, "We're confirming details with the venue. Inclusivity is non-negotiable for our partners." Maya slid into a chair with a hand over her mouth. "Oh my God," she whispered, eyes wide. The look didn't reach her pupils. They were bright, busy, counting. "Did you know about this?" a coordinator asked. "First time seeing it," Maya said, already flagging influencers on her phone. Across the floor, sentiment tools refreshed. Green edged past yellow. Hashtag "Let Her In" started to trend in a small corner of the city. Lena's phone buzzed 3 times at her desk. "Unknown numbers. Saw the video. You handled it with grace. Proud of you, even if we've never met. Auntie works near there. Been there. Keep going." She read each message once and saved the clip in a private folder labeled Incident, Club, Timestamp, Link, Source. PR pushed the holding line live. The clip kept spreading anyway. Lena reopened her FSIO sheet. Machines. Seats per hour. Weekend staffing. The work stayed the work. The room felt different. Not fixed, just less alone. The cafe was loud enough to hide a quiet conversation. Maya waved the server off and leaned in. "A lot of people think Lena's being favored." The reporter, Jules, old bylines, new platform, stirred her coffee. "Source?" Maya rolled a shoulder. "Off the record. Patterns. Proximity. You've seen the posts." Jules didn't flinch. "Posts aren't proof." "Proof is messy," Maya said, soft. "But smoke matters. People inside are talking." "Names," Jules said. Maya's smile stayed polite. "You know I keep my sources. What I can say is tone at the top. Special access. Unusual visibility for an assistant." She let the words sit, then added, "Timing, too." Jules tapped her phone. "One note? Favoritism? Cue for comms." "On background," Maya said. "No quotes, no trail." "Motivation?" "Concern," Maya said, almost kind. "For the project, for the brand. You'll frame it fair." Light from the street cut across the table and split Maya's face, half warm, half shadow. She didn't move. Jules scrolled the Marble Ridge clip again. "The video helps her." "Today," Maya said. "Tomorrow is a different feed." A beat passed, cups clinked. Someone laughed at the bar. Jules looked up. "If I run this, I'll need a second source." "You will have one," Maya said, sliding a card. Not hers. "Try this number." Jules saved it. "I'll reach out." Maya stood, chair legs quiet. "Do." She slipped her phone into her coat. "Keep it clean." She stepped into the light, then out of it. The feed kept scrolling. The small room held the kind of quiet that makes you tell the truth. Ethan set his palms flat on the table. "I need to be clear." Lena didn't move. She waited. He searched for a clean sentence and found only fragments. "Pressure. Timing. Family. The board. I've been silent," she said. Not unkind. He nodded. "Too long." Her eyes stayed steady. "I am not anyone's secret anymore." The words landed and stayed. He looked down at the contract draft, at a margin note in her hand. He wanted to promise the whole sky. He didn't. "What I feel isn't the problem," he said. "What I've chosen is." "Then choose in daylight," Lena answered. "Or don't choose me at all." The HVAC hummed. The cursor blinked. No one filled the space with soft lies. Finally, she slid the paper back between them. "Work," she said. "We finished the community safeguard. Then the budget. Then the comms plan." He exhaled. "Local vendor preference?" "Write it," she said. "Minimum 30%. Publish the list. Hotline live before launch. Audit cadence? Quarterly. Independent. Post results." They moved through the clauses like people who build bridges because they need to cross them. Pens marked. Track changes stacked. The language got sharper. They didn't touch. They didn't look away. When they reached the last bullet, Lena saved the file and numbered the version. The silence lifted a little. The work remained. So did the line. The hallway of the Sterling townhouse smelled like polish and old paper. Oil portraits lined both sides, gold frames catching a soft shine. Names in brass, years that sounded like rules. Ethan walked past faces he knew only from stories. Men in dark suits, women in satin and stillness. Every gaze seemed to ask the same question. What will you protect? Evelyn stepped beside him, small and certain. Her hand rested on a carved chairback. "If you must choose," she said, warm but firm, "choose kindness first." He let the words land. No argument, no defense, just the weight of a line that wouldn't move. His phone glowed in his palm. A draft sat open. "Can we talk?" He had typed it 3 times today. He had never hit send. He looked up again. A family crest at the end of the hall gleamed above a side table. The motto sounded noble in Latin, blunt in English. Duty, honor, tradition. Ethan read it once, then thought of another list. Access, audits, local hires, a hotline that actually answers. Faces from St. Augustine. A boy who needs Wi-Fi after school. Lena's steady handwriting in the margins. His thumb hovered over send. Not yet. From the dining room, voices began to gather for another conversation he couldn't dodge. Evelyn squeezed his arm. "You'll know," she said. He slid the phone into his pocket and turned toward the sound. The choice was moving closer. The crisis room ran cold. Gavin Hale clicked to the first slide. NDA plus hush money, 5 hours. Containment window, 72 hours. Bullet points stacked in clean type, non-disclosure, non-disparagement, no admission of wrongdoing. "The objective," Gavin said, "is speed and silence. We stabilize optics, reduce leak risk, and move on." The CMO nodded like this was weather. The CFO asked, "Source of funds?" "Special situations," Gavin replied. "Off-cycle. No board vote required." Next slide. Tactics. Limited circle, single point of contact, private venue, no email threads, talking points for if it ever surfaces. We don't comment on personnel matters. A junior legal assistant took notes on a yellow pad. Her pen moved fast, her eyes did not. Something in her face tightened at $5 and stayed there. "Deliverables," Gavin said. "Draft agreement today, meeting tomorrow, signature by close of business. If she declines, we escalate reputation management and isolate her from community-facing work." He advanced again. Messaging grid. Investors, partners, media. "Keep the board informed at a summary level only," he added. "No detail outside need to know." The assistant cleared her throat. "And if Ms. Carter asks for policy remediation instead of payment?" Gavin didn't look over. "This is not policy. This is protection." Silence pressed in. The HVAC hummed. "Calendar the meeting," he said. "Discretion. No subject lines that flag. Use room 41C. Heads dipped. Laptops opened. The assistant wrote 41C and underlined it twice. Then she looked at the number on the slide one more time and set her jaw. They stepped into the glass hall, city noise a soft hum through 40 floors. Gavin kept pace, eyes on the skyline, voice flat. "You keep the title," he said. "I clean up the mess." Ethan didn't answer. He looked down at the street, tiny figures crossing in every direction. Anonymous. Real. His right hand had curled without asking. He let it go, fingers loosening against his palm. Gavin filled the space. "Optics will settle. We buy silence, reset the narrative, move forward. The board sleeps. Investors stop calling. Your mother stops worrying." He tapped the portfolio with one knuckle. "This is what we do when we mean to win." "It's not trash," Ethan said, quiet. "It's a person. A person who endangers the machine," Gavin replied. "You're steward of a legacy, not a romance. Don't confuse the two." The elevator pinged somewhere behind them. Numbers climbed. Markets opened. The day pressed on. Gavin softened his tone the way people do when they want a yes. "Don't let feelings wreck the legacy," he said, and laid a hand on Ethan's shoulder. "You keep the crown clean. I handle the rest." Ethan looked at the hand, then past it, back to the glass. He wanted certainty. He had choices. "Send me the details," he said at last. "Already did," Gavin answered. "Room 41C. Gavin walked off, shoes quiet. Ethan stayed by the window, the city moving under his reflection, the decision not moving at all. The floor was busy with small talk and spreadsheets. Headphones up, eyes down. Lena set her bag under the desk and woke her screen. A coworker leaned on the divider, grin tilted. "You're lucky to be this close to the boss." He dragged the word lucky like a joke. Lena kept her tone even. "I'm close to the work." He chuckled and wandered off, already looking for his next audience. A minute later, Tasha from accounting appeared with a paper cup. She set it by Lena's keyboard. "Oat latte," she said. "You looked like you needed one." Lena smiled. "You're a lifesaver." Tasha shrugged. "Nah, you've earned it. I've seen those decks." Their eyes met for a beat. quiet, steady. Then Tasha tapped the desk twice and moved on. Lena wrapped her hands around the cup. Warmth spread back into her fingers. The open floor settled into its usual hum. A Slack ping tried to pull her sideways. She let it sit. She opened the FSIO file. Needs assessment tab. 3 labs at launch. Weekend hours. Hotspot checkouts. Volunteers for intake. She added 2 notes from St. Augustine and a link to the policy update HR had pushed. Another message rolled through a public channel, half joke, half dig. She didn't chase it. She took a sip, centered her cursor, and started outlining vendor criteria. Behind her, chairs scraped. Ahead of her, the plan tightened. Work first, dignity always. Her inbox blinked with a new subject line. Meeting? Legal? No signature, no greeting. When? Today, 4:30 p.m. Where? Floor 41, room C. Note, please attend. Lena read it twice. The sender field showed a jumble. No reply, masked domain, nothing human. She hovered over reply, then didn't. The cursor pulsed like a tap on the shoulder. Her heart picked up. Not panic, alert. She opened her calendar and created a private event. 4:15 to 5:15, don't go alone. She added 2 reminders, set one to pop on her lock screen. She attached the newest community safeguard draft and the policy update from HR. A paper trail is a kind of seatbelt. She looked around the floor. Chatter, laughter at a desk that wasn't hers. Someone complained about the coffee machine. The normal noise felt off-key. She closed her laptop and slipped it into her bag, then pulled her coat tighter across her ribs. The fabric pressed back like armor. She checked her phone. Battery full, do not disturb off. Recorder app pinned to the first screen. A second calendar ping appeared. Hers, not theirs. Leave now. She stood. In the corridor, the air ran cooler. Doors side open and shut. The elevator bank waited with a stainless hush. She pressed up. A car slid in, soft and empty. Floor lights stacked like a countdown. She stepped inside and watched the doors draw together. 41 lit on the panel. Her reminder buzzed in her palm. Don't go alone. The doors met. Room 41C ran cold. A leather folder slid across the table. A glass of water sweated a thin ring. Gavin didn't sit. $5 million for silence. Lena opened the folder. First page, NDA. Second, non-disparagement. Third, release of claims. A clause in bold, no public comment. Another, breach equals liquidated damages. Heavy. Wire within 72 hours, Gavin said. Single point of contact. Standard terms. What's standard? Lena asked. About buying a voice? It's not about you, he said. It's about stability. We protect the work by removing noise. She flipped a page. No rehire tucked near the bottom. She circled it with her eyes, not her pen. So, I disappear, and the policy stays. We don't legislate culture in a conference room, Gavin replied. We close risk. The junior legal assistant watched from the corner, pen still, jaw tight. Lena read faster. No admission of wrongdoing. Mutual non-disclosure. Return of property. Dates. Initial lines. A signature block waiting like a trap with good manners. Gavin set a pen down, parallel to the folder. Take the afternoon. Sign by close of business. Lena placed her palms flat, grounding her breath. You can fix the rule, or you can pay to hide it. He didn't blink. We're done if you're done. She closed the folder without a sound. The condensation ring on the table looked like a target. Your turn, audience. In this chair, do you take the money or keep your voice? Tell us why. The pen lay between them like a choice. Lena picked it up, tested the weight, and rolled the cap once between her fingers. Gavin watched, patient, certain. She looked at the signature block, at the number, at the line that said no public comment. Her breath matched the hum of the vent. Then, click. She capped the pen and set it down, clean and final. You can buy a lot, she said, voice steady. You can't buy my dignity. Something shifted in the room. Not loud, just true. Gavin's face didn't move. You're refusing an extraordinary offer. I'm refusing a muzzle, Lena answered. Fix the rule. Don't pay to hide it. He slid the folder back an inch, as if it had burned. There are consequences. There always are. In the corner, the junior legal assistant looked up from her pad. Her eyes were bright and furious and grateful all at once. She straightened, as if someone had finally said the line she'd been writing in her head all day. Lena aligned the pen parallel to the folder, the ring of condensation still faint on the table. She pushed her chair in with care. No drama, no flinch. Gavin gathered the papers, each page a soft scrape. "We're done here," he said. Lena nodded once. "We are." The room held a beat of silence, the kind that seals a moment so it can't be undone. The door to 41C clicked behind her. The hallway ran colder than the room. Gavin followed one step, face set. "You'll regret this." Lena didn't slow. She adjusted her coat at the collar and kept moving. No scene. No answer. At the end of the corridor, the glass doors parted. A draft of winter cut through the carpeted quiet. It lifted a curl at her temple and carried the smell of rain and steel. She stepped into it with her back straight, shoulders squared, heel, toe, forward. Behind her, Gavin's voice fell to a murmur she chose not to keep. Somewhere down the hall, a badge reader chirped and an elevator bell chimed like nothing important had just happened. Her phone buzzed in her palm. "Ethan, are you okay?" She looked at the screen and felt the ache of the question. Simple, late, true. Her thumb hovered. She didn't type. Not yet. Across the lobby, a guard nodded as she passed. The revolving door spun once and let in more cold. She welcomed it. A living thing beats back the numb. Another buzz. She let the message sit. She needed her breath first. She needed her line to hold. Outside, traffic hissed on wet pavement. A bus sighed. A woman laughed into her scarf. Lena tucked the phone away and kept walking. Not an exit, a direction. The wind rose and settled. The screen stayed unanswered. The side corridor at St. Augustine is quiet enough to hear shoes on old wood. Stained glass paints her hand in blues and reds. The color moves when she breathes. Lena sits alone on the bench and lets the noise of the day drain off. Room 41C, the leather folder. The word silence with a price tag. She doesn't replay the lines. She doesn't need to. "I choose to respect myself," she whispers, not for effect, for anchor. A soft draft cools her neck. Somewhere, a door closes and the space settles again. The light on her skin shifts, and with it the weight in her chest. Not gone, just placed where it belongs. Her phone buzzes once in her pocket. Calendar. Hudson Heritage Gala. 24 hours. She reads it. She feels the clock start. No panic. Just time. She thinks about the names on the FSIO list. The kids who will sit at screens that actually work. The parents who will wait in hallways and not feel out of place. She thinks about language that says will, not may. About lines that protect people when rooms get loud. Another breath, shoulders down, back straight. She puts the phone away and rests her palm flat on the bench, the glass colors fading as a cloud moves past the sun. Faith is not a pass, it's a practice. 24 hours to hold the line in public the way she has in private. She stands, smooths her coat, and walks toward the door. Rain threads down the glass, drawing soft lines over the city. Ethan stands on the terrace, phone in his palm. The lock screen glows. FSIO, blueprints, classrooms, a lab, notes in Lena's hand. His phone lights again. Vivian. Calling. He watches the name, feels the pull, and taps silence. The ring dies into the rain. The wind is clean and cold. It bites through the suit and wakes him up. Behind him, the office hums. In front of him, the city blurs into silver and red. He studies the plans on the screen. Access, audits, hires, hotline. 4 words, simple as rails. The kind that keeps a train from jumping. A thought lands, bare and honest. Legacy or the truth of the heart? He doesn't dress it up. He lets it sit. Legacy is a speech, a gala, a plaque. Truth is a door open when it's raining. A policy that holds when no one is watching. Another buzz, a text from an unknown number. Press asking for comment. He locks the phone and pockets it. The rain keeps talking. Some choices make noise, some make room. He steadies his breath until it matches the weather. When he turns back toward the light, he isn't lighter, just clearer. He leaves the terrace with water on his cuffs and a line he means to hold. The night doesn't answer. It doesn't need to. Late afternoon settles over the Harlem apartment like a steady breath. Lena slips into the sapphire gown and lets the fabric find her shape. The color carries its own courage. On the dresser, a small jewelry box and a photo of her mother propped against it. Her mother's smile says, "Keep going." Lena peels a fresh sticky and presses it to the mirror right where her eyes will land. You are enough. She checks the zipper, the hem, the way the dress moves when she turns. Not vanity. Readiness. She tests one step, then another, mapping the room like a stage she didn't ask for but will own. Her phone lights. Ethan. I'll be there. She looks at the words until they stop trying to tug her. Then she locks the screen and sets it face down. A deep breath, shoulders back. She chooses earrings that don't apologize and a clutch that holds more than lip balm. Metro card, notes for FSIO, a folded list of names she refuses to forget. At the mirror, she smooths a curl into place, natural, soft, present. No shrinking, no fixing what isn't broken. The sticky note stares back like a guardrail. She reads it once under her breath. In the hallway, a neighbor laughs. Life goes on at the usual volume. Lena takes one last look at her mother's photo, taps the frame lightly, and clicks off the lamp. The gown gathers the light as she reaches for the door. The city waits. So does the room. The line will hold. The Hudson Heritage entrance glows like a postcard. Velvet ropes, step and repeat, a soft burst of flashes. Lena takes her place in the flow. The sapphire gown holds its color even under hard light. The MC reads from a card. Names spill in a polished rhythm, donors, trustees, partners. A beat, a turn of the card. He moves on. Her name never crosses the mic. No one says it out loud, but heads angle. Two guests look, then look again. A smile that isn't kind. A whisper that isn't needed. From the doorway, a guard touches his earpiece. "Maintain order at front lobby," he murmurs, eyes scanning the edge of the carpet. The phrase sits heavy for something so ordinary. Lena keeps her breath in time with the camera clicks. She steps forward when the line steps forward. She doesn't correct the MC. She doesn't wave a wristband. She lets the omission float, then sink. Inside the glass, a string quartet warms a familiar standard. The sound leaks into the foyer like an invitation with conditions. A volunteer offers a program. "Enjoy the evening," she says, reflex only. "Thank you," Lena answers, and means it for herself, not for the room. She turns her shoulders toward the light and away from the stairs. If recognition is currency here, she'll pay with poise. Beyond the doors, the museum waits. Chandeliers, marble, eyes. She lifts her chin and walks through. The main hall opens wide. Marble underfoot. A string ensemble stitching the room together in warm notes. Lena moves past a display case and toward the donor table. Pens scratch. Names fill pledge cards. A donor in a tux lifts his head as she approaches. His pen pauses mid-stroke. Ink beads on the line. He doesn't smile. He just waits, like her presence needs a reason. Two staffers at the edge of the table lean in. One whisper brushes the other. "Is that her?" The words don't travel far, but they land. Lena thanks the volunteer handing out programs and steps aside to read the map. She gives the donor time to finish his line without being the reason he can't. On the polished stone, a gold reflection pools near her heels. Sterling, cast down from a banner high above. The letters tremble with the movement of shoes and light. Echoes everywhere she goes. "Bar is left. Galleries to the right," the volunteer says, softer now. "Thank you," Lena answers, keeping her tone even, her spine unbent. The donor finally signs, tears off his copy, and tucks the pen away. He glances once more, then finds something else to look at. The quartet swells. Conversation does too. Lena folds the program and heads toward the galleries. If the space demands a credential, she has one. Presence. The gold letters on the floor follow her, then fade. A well-dressed guest steps forward, hand offered, smile easy. "May I?" Lena answers with the same polish. "Of course." They take the floor as the strings lean into a standard. His palm finds the air above her shoulder blade, not her back. Her fingertips rest on the edge of his hand, not his wrist. Distance, kept on purpose. He makes small talk that belongs to rooms like this. "First time at Hudson Heritage?" "It's lovely," she says. "The gallery lighting is perfect." They trade 2 steps, then 2 more. He leads gently. She follows with her own rhythm. Around them, the crowd opens just enough to watch without staring. A laugh breaks somewhere near the bar. A camera flashes and then thinks better of it. Do you work with the Sterling team? He asks, casual as a canapé. I work on community programs, Lena says. The new learning labs. Ah. He nods, as if that explains something he hadn't asked. They keep the pattern. Turn, return, release. The space between their hands says everything their words won't. No flirt, no heat. Just form. Lena's gaze stays level, past his shoulder, steady on a point that doesn't move. The dress holds its color. Her breath stays smooth. The song softens into its last bars. He thanks her for the dance. She thanks him back. They part with a polite nod, leaving a clean shape where the moment was. Ethan arrives on a late breath and sees it at once. Lena stepping off the floor from a polite dance, the crowd reforming around her like a tide that knows its lines. His hand finds a flute of champagne. The stem ticks against his ring, barely. The liquid trembles. So does he. Across the hall, the MC lifts a card. The Sterling family, please join us for opening remarks. Heads turn, cameras adjust. A path opens he didn't ask for. Vivian is already near the front. Her smile is perfect and cold, the kind that holds forever in a photo and nowhere else. She tips her chin to him. Come. Now. Ethan doesn't move yet. He watches Lena accept a program from a volunteer, posture easy, face composed. No drama, no plea. The space between them feels measured in choices, not feet. He brings the flute to his mouth and never drinks. The glass stays at his lip like a question. Echoes of last time, silence, optics, the safe answer, press in around the rim. Mr. Sterling? An usher prompts. He lowers the glass. The bubbles settle. His jaw does not. He takes one step toward the stage and feels the room grade under him. Legacy to the left, truth to the right. Tonight, those lanes will meet. Vivian's smile doesn't change. His does. Not much. Enough. He walks forward into the lights. The whispers move like thin waves along the marble. Lena feels them touch her and slide off. She thanks the volunteer, folds the program, and turns toward the corridor. The quartet fades behind glass. Heels find a steady pace on stone. Her throat tightens. Her spine does not. Two guests pause their conversation as she passes. A smile, then a look. Nothing to answer. She keeps going. At the elevator bank, a chill hangs in the air. She presses the button and studies the floor numbers instead of the room she just left. Moisture gathers at the corner of her eyes. She blinks it back, not because they can't see, but because she chooses when they do. The doors open. Stainless steel, quiet and bright. She steps in alone. For a second, she sees everything at once in the panel's reflection. Sapphire dress, set shoulders, the line she drew this week and did not cross. The hall is still behind her. The night is still ahead. A memory flickers. A sticky note on a Harlem mirror. You are enough. It lands like a hand on the center of her chest. The doors begin to close. Her gaze doesn't drop. Voices swell down the corridor and stop short of the threshold. No one calls her name. The panels meet with a soft seal, holding her image for one clean beat, upright, unshaken. The car hums. Floor numbers climb. The moment stays with her. Cold air rides the river and finds him on the balcony. Ethan opens a message to Lena. I'm here. He deletes it. Can we talk? Delete. He stares at the cursor until it feels like a stare back. Buzz. Unknown number. A photo loads. Lena in sapphire under museum lights. Caption, not just an assistant. He feels the small, mean shape of it. The kind that travels faster than truth. Inside, applause rises and falls. Outside, the water keeps its own time. He grips the rail, phone warm in his hand, anger colder than the wind. His own voice cuts through, plain and hard. Legacy? Or the truth of the heart? He thinks of Vivian's smile that never bends. Gavin's folder, 41C, waiting like a shortcut. The board's slide deck on optics. FSIO blueprints glowing on his lock screen. Kids who need Wi-Fi more than he needs a photo on a wall. He types, I was wrong. Deletes. He types, I choose you. Deletes. The night asks nothing. He owes it an answer anyway. Back inside, the quartet restarts. He pockets the phone and stays in the cold a beat longer, letting the choice grow teeth. Your turn. What happens next? Does Ethan go public tonight or stay quiet one more time? Tell us your call below. And if you want the next chapter the moment it drops, hit subscribe and turn on the bell. Then drop your prediction for segment 38. Folding tables, styrofoam cups, a taped-up sign that says Community Room B. Across the center table, the FSIO map lies open. Labs in blue, classrooms in green, a walkway to the library in yellow. Lena stands with a dry erase marker. "No personal attacks," she says, steady. "Only data and true stories. That's our lane." She draws 4 words on the board: access, audits, local hires, hotline. "Teachers, you take access," she says. "Show after-school numbers, homework completion rates when Wi-Fi works." Miss Alvarez lifts a folder. Attendance charts, a list of kids who camp under routers after practice. "Veterans, you've got local hires," Lena adds. "Talk apprenticeships, wages, stability." Sergeant Cole nods. He taps a resume he printed for a neighbor who needs a second chance. "Students," she says, turning to a row of teens. "You own Y, 30 seconds each, no scripts. Tell them what you'll build when the doors open." A boy with a cracked phone clears his throat. "I want to fix things that break," he says. His friend whispers, "Say code." A volunteer stacks 1-page fact sheets: cost per cohort, weekend hours, ADA access, translation help. A choir mother adds the price of inhalers and bus fare in the margins. "Order is teacher, vet, student," Lena says. "I'll anchor with audits and the grievance line. We stay calm. We stay clear." She caps the marker. The room hums. Not nervous, ready. Hope rises like a quiet tide. The board outside may count optics. Tonight, this room will count lives. Folding chairs face a long dais. Nameplates. Timers. The room smells like coffee and dust. A man in a fleece vest steps to the mic and holds up a tabloid printout. The same photo from the gala. The same cheap caption. "This is who's running it. Look, I'm not against charity, but we have to talk security. We have to protect the property values." Murmurs rise. Another resident adds, "Parking, noise, people we don't know coming in and out." The chair taps a pencil. "Keep comments to the project." Lena walks to the podium with the 1-page fact sheet. She doesn't look at the tabloid. "We hear your concerns," she says. "Let's ground them." She holds up a slide, calls completed at nearby precincts before and after school programs. When kids have access, calls go down. When families get Wi-Fi and support, disruption drops further. A hand shoots up. "Fences help." "Fences stop neighbors," Lena says, steady. "Safety comes from opportunity, not higher fences. That's what FSIO builds: labs, mentors, weekend hours, doors that open on purpose." She points to the wage chart. Local hiring, 30% minimum. Apprenticeships, paychecks that stabilize blocks. Stability protects value more than fear ever did. The tabloid wavers. A council member leans forward. The timer beeps. Lena closes with the grievance line. "If something goes wrong, you'll have a number that answers, not a slogan, a response." She steps back. The room doesn't flip. It tilts. The chair clears his throat. "Next speaker." The mic squeaks, then settles. Sergeant Cole steps up in his pressed jacket. He clears his throat. "My son needs a computer lab," he says. "Not another fence. He finishes homework in our car outside the library because the Wi-Fi reaches the curb. FSIO means screens that work, mentors in the room, a place he can be after practice that isn't a parking lot. I've done 2 tours. Safety is structure. This is structure." Applause starts small, then stops itself. Ms. Alvarez, 8th grade teacher, slides a folder onto the podium. "Our failure rate is 27%, she says. "When students have Wi-Fi and a seat, that number drops. When they have weekend hours, it drops again. I can teach, but I can't make a router out of thin air. FSIO gives us air." She lifts a chart, green climbing where red fell. "That's what families feel, not headlines. Outcomes." A boy in a thrift store blazer adjusts the mic. "I'm Jay," he says. "I want to be an engineer. I like fixing things that break. Right now, I watch videos on my phone until it overheats. If there's a lab, I can learn code on a real keyboard. I can help my sister with her math. I can make stuff that works." He looks at the dais. "Please let us in." Silence holds, then thins. A council member leans toward her mic. A neighbor who clutched a tabloid now folds it in half and sets it on her lap. The room doesn't cheer. It changes. The room sits with Jay's words longer than it meant to. Paper rustles. A hand goes up from the aisle. Mr. Penfield, the neighbor with the fleece vest and the tight jaw. The chair nods. Briefly. He stands at the side mic, eyes on the fact sheet he wouldn't take before. I was too quick, he says. I saw a headline and filled in the rest. That's on me. He clears his throat. If the labs and hiring happen like this says, if there's a hotline that answers, maybe I should have asked for details before I signed a petition. No applause, just a little air coming back into the room. The chair looks down the dais, then back out. Thank you. She taps her pencil once. Given the testimony and the data presented, I'm asking staff to withdraw several items from the opposition memo and to study FSIO for feasibility. Access, hiring targets, audit cadence, grievance protocol. A council member adds, bring us a draft partnership framework in 30 days, with benchmarks. Murmurs change direction. A woman who folded the tabloid earlier slides it into her bag. Sergeant Cole exhales through his nose like he finally believes in oxygen again. Ms. Alvarez squeezes a copy of the chart until the paper creases. Lena doesn't smile. She nods once to the teachers, once to the vets, once to the students. It isn't a victory lap, it's a lane opening. The chair clicks to the next agenda item, and the room, a little different now, keeps going. The Sterling archive smells like paper and polish. Flat files line the wall, brass pulls engraved with tidy labels. Evelyn slides one open. Urban Renewal. She lifts a linen map in a mylar sleeve and lays it on the table. Blocks in neat grids. A river sketched in blue. Red grease pencil crosses through a handful of streets. Paper clips hold notices typed on thin stock. Acquisition, clearance, public purpose. In the margin, a familiar hand has initialed dates. A surname Ethan carries sits beside the word Blight. These streets, Evelyn says, tapping softly, are where the center stands now, and where our name sits on a plaque. He traces a corner with one gloved finger. The block names are the ones from St. Augustine's prayer list. He sees Sterling Wing in his mind, bright and harmless until it isn't. We called it progress, Evelyn says. They called it home. She lets the sentence breathe, then adds, gentle but unmoving, this is also our legacy. The word lands heavier than it does at galas. Ethan scans a clipped ledger, payments neat and low, signatures slanted with hurry. A pencil note reads scheduled demolition, Q3. He feels the room tilt, just slightly, from pride to debt. Why show me this now? He asks. Because repair is legacy too, she answers, and because you're the one standing at the hinge. He looks back at the red X's, at the quiet proof no press release would print. Legacy, repeating in his head, reshaping its meaning as it goes. Back in his office, the map from the archive still lives behind his eyes. Red X's where families once were. An email lands from the CFO. Subject, FSIO, funding, EPS impact? He types, pauses, then sends, impact on lives. Follow-up, we will allocate 10% of Sterling Horizon's profits to FSIO and a scholarship fund. Treat as a standing commitment, not a one-off. He hits call. Legal? I need a public instrument, not a press line. Draft a commitment deed. 10% of profits, audited, irrevocable without supermajority and community board consent. Term? Open-ended. Minimum 5 years before any review. Build in independent audits. Publish results quarterly. Oversight? Create a named committee. Community seats included. Give it teeth. He loops in IR and PR. We're announcing on camera. No euphemisms. We say exactly what it is and why. His phone buzzes. CFO again. Markets will ask about guidance. Then we guide, Ethan replies. Stability comes from trust. He opens a blank doc titled Repair is Legacy. First line, we called it progress. They called it home. Second line, we can't undo what was taken, but we can choose what we give. He thinks of St. Augustine. Wi-Fi, inhalers, bus fare, kids spelling engineer. He sees Lena's margin notes turning chaos into steps. Legal, send me the draft by 6, he says. We sign publicly tomorrow. He closes the archive in his mind and replaces it with a new ledger. Not debt, direction. A folding podium. 2 mics with chipped station logos. Local press, not a red carpet. Harlem Chronicle, a college paper. A public radio rig on a rolling cart. Ethan lays the document flat. Commitment deed. 10% of Sterling Horizons, profits to FSIO and scholarship fund. Audits. Community seats. Irrevocable without a supermajority and neighborhood consent. He signs his name. The mic catches the sound. A clean, soft scrape of pen on paper. That little soft rides the room like proof. A reporter lowers her phone. "On the record?" "On the record," Ethan says. "Not a pledge, a policy." Flash, pencil. A cough someone tries to hide. Lena stands off to the side with the fact sheets. She doesn't step forward. She doesn't look for a lens. She watches the signature dry. Shoulders drop a fraction. No tears, just air returning. The city editor asks, "Quarterly transparency?" "Posted and archived," Ethan answers. "Independent audits, a hotline that answers." "And if profits dip?" "10% still means 10%. The public radio producer leans in. "Why now?" Ethan glances at the deed. "Because repair is legacy. We called it progress. They called it home. This is the first payment on a debt." A teacher from St. Augustine holds up the one-pager. "Parents will want the weekend hours in writing." "They're in writing," Lena says, steady, "and in the budget." The editor nods. "We'll run it tonight." "Run the details," Lena adds. "That's what matters." The pen rests beside the deed. Cameras power down. Outside, traffic moves like it always does. Inside, the paper holds. So does the promise. The townhouse draws room heat into corners. Velvet, portraits, a clock that won't stop. Vivian stands in the doorway of the old parlor. "Tell me I heard it wrong. You traded your inheritance for a headline and a community center." Ethan sets his keys on the console. "I made it a policy. 10%. Audited. Public." "Don't recite," she snaps. "You took the sterling name and stapled it to a promise you can't control. When profits fall, when investors call, where will you be? On a stage? With her?" He keeps his voice even. "With the community we helped displace. With the kids who need those labs." Vivian laughs once, brittle. "We built legacy so you'd never have to beg for respect." He meets her eyes. "Legacy without love and fairness isn't a legacy. It's a plaque." Her face hardens. "You think I'm the enemy?" "I think fear is," he says. "And it's loud in this house." Evelyn appears at the hall's edge, saying nothing, one hand on the chair rail. The look she gives him says, "Breathe, stand, choose." Vivian steps closer. "You risk the trust, the estate, the board. For what?" He doesn't blink. "Love and fairness legacy. That's the math." Silence stretches thin. Vivian's jaw sets. "Then do it without this roof." He picks up his coat. "Then I will." The front door slams. Down the hall, a row of framed ancestors rattles in their gilded sleep. Sterling Plaza is quiet before the day begins. A podium, 2 folding chairs, a mic with tape on the stem. Lena flips to the hardest card and looks him in the eye. "Do you fetishize black women?" The question hangs. It deserves space. Ethan doesn't rush into it. "I was afraid," he says. "I chose silence because it protected me. That silence made room for harm." He lets the next breath come and go. "I'm learning to listen. To stand behind, not in front. To make sure I don't turn her into a symbol or a shield." Lena waits. "And when the spotlight wants you anyway?" "I move it," he says. "I cite her work. I share decisions, not credit. I name the systems, race, class, that helped me hide. And I don't argue with the impact. If I misstep, I repair it in public." She nods once, then sharpens it. "Some will say this is PR. It's accountability," he answers. "You'll see it in what we fund, how we hire, and who leads. You'll hear less of me when her voice needs the air." Silence returns, not empty. Settled. Lena lowers the card. "Again," she says. He repeats the answer, cleaner. No heroics, no defense. The plaza holds the words. They are hard and simple. They sound like something he can live by tomorrow, not just promise today. Backstage smells like dust and tape. A tech runs a light pass, on, off, on, white flood, then black. The mic lets out a sharp squeal, then settles into a clean hush. Crew voices fade down the hallway. Clipboards, headsets, the day lining up. Ethan checks the notes he already knows. FSIO, 10%, audits, community seats. It all fits on one page. It took a lifetime to mean it. Lena steps beside him, close enough to borrow calm. Her eyes ask the same question his chest keeps asking. "Are we ready to live this in daylight?" He nods once. No speech, no vow, just the truth that survived the week. A bulb flickers above them, then steadies. The buzz dies. For a beat, the whole building feels quiet. Lena reaches for his hand. One squeeze. Warm, sure, brief. Tomorrow, truth, she says. Soft, like a promise you don't need to sell. He breathes out. Tomorrow. She lets go first. The space between their hands fills back in with air and purpose. A stage manager waves from the curtain. We're set. They step toward the edge of the light and stop just shy of it. Not hiding, holding. Outside, the city keeps moving. Headlines spin. Traffic hums. Inside, their lines are simple and loaded. Another test tone chirps, then clicks to silence. They look at the podium, then at each other. Tomorrow is coming. Red and blue wash over wet asphalt. Wipers tick a steady metronome. Lena eases the window down 2 inches, both hands high on the wheel. Good evening, officer. May I have your name and badge number, please? The young cop shifts in the rain. Officer Rivera, badge 6124. She repeats it back, calm. Thank you, Officer Rivera. Is your body cam on? He glances at the glowing pin on his chest. Yes, ma'am. His voice softens a notch. Reason for the stop? Driver's side taillight is out. My license and registration are in my wallet and the glove box, Lena says, steady. I'm going to reach slowly with my right hand. Go ahead. Plastic sleeves shuffle. She keeps a running narration. Wallet, flap, card, so the moment can't be misunderstood. Rain drums the roof. Somewhere, a radio crackles and fades. Thank you, he says, taking the documents. Sit tight. He walks back to the cruiser. Lena breathes in 4s, eyes forward, shoulders low. The lights keep painting the street. The car idles like a held breath. Rivera returns, hat beaded with rain. Everything checks. I'm issuing a warning. Please fix the light within 7 days. He hesitates, then adds, I appreciate you asking about the camera. It helps us both. Thank you for following procedure, Lena says. I'll get it repaired tomorrow. He nods once. Have a safe night. The lights click off. The street becomes just a street again. Lena rolls the window up and lets the wipers wipe the last of the color away. Rain softens to a hiss. The patrol lights click dark. Officer Rivera returns to the window and hands back the cards. Thank you for your cooperation, he says. Lena takes them with steady hands. Thank you for following proper procedure. A small nod from him. Have a safe night. He steps away. Silence, then just the wipers. The street is only a street again. In the passenger seat, Ethan has his palms open on his knees where they've been the whole time, back a beat, voice off, learning how not to take the air. He exhales, slow. You okay? He asks, quiet. I am, Lena says. She tucks her license into her wallet, slides the registration back into the glove box. Taillight gets fixed tomorrow. I can take the car in early, he offers. Not a rescue, a task. It's already booked, she says, a hint of a smile. 7:30. He nods. He doesn't add a speech. He doesn't recap the stop. He lets her set the tempo. Outside, a bus sighs at the corner and moves on. A couple crosses under one umbrella. Life resumes its ordinary shape. Ethan looks at her, then past the windshield. You handled that, he says, meaning it. Lena starts the turn signal, a clean click in the quiet. We both did, she answers, by staying in our lanes. He settles a little deeper into the seat, behind, not above. The car pulls out. The night keeps going. Tomorrow waits. Morning light washes the plaza clean. A podium stands center, backdrop set with logos, cables taped in neat lines. Flags lift, settle. The wind flicks the mic and makes it shiver. Cameras find their frames. A boom dips, rises. A producer in a headset walks the line with 2 fingers raised, then 1. Stand by! Reporters warm up their voices. Notebooks open. Lenses click awake. Someone coughs, then remembers the mic and swallows the sound. Ethan checks a single page. FSIO, 10%, audits, community seats. No adjectives, just the spine. Lena folds a 1-pager with weekend hours and access rules. Her pen slides into the clip on her clipboard. The crowd isn't large, but it's close. Teachers from St. Augustine. 2 veterans from the prep meeting. Jay in his thrift store blazer. A neighbor who folded the tabloid now holds a church fan. The producer steps to the podium and steadies the mic. Wind's up, she says, then looks at the camera light. We're live in 10. Breath in, breath out. Ethan sets the page flat. Lena nods once and lets her hands fall easy at her sides. They stand shoulder to shoulder, not touching. The gap is choice, not doubt. A red tally light blooms, headsets tilt. The producer points. Live in 3, 2. The plaza quiets to a held note. Ethan lifts his eyes to the crowd and begins. This love is worth more than legacy. Ethan lets the first line land. I won't hide behind optics or old habits. I'm choosing to stand in the open, with the woman I love and with the community we've too often spoken over. He sets a page flat. Today, Sterling Horizons commits 10% of profits to FSIO and a scholarship fund. Audited, posted quarterly, and governed with community seats. The deed is public. It can't be reversed without a supermajority and neighborhood consent. A breath. Years ago, my family called it progress. Many families called it home. We can't rewrite that history, but we can repay the debt in action, not press releases. He glances toward Lena, then back to the crowd. This isn't charity, it's accountability. Labs that open on weekends, a hotline that answers, local hiring at a minimum of 30%, independent audits you can read, not slogans you have to trust. To partners and investors, stability comes from trust. We are investing in the city that built our balance sheet and our name. He lifts the page but doesn't need it. Love and fairness are not costs. They are values. They are the only legacy worth leaving. He closes where he began, steady as a vow. This love is worth more than legacy, and starting today you'll see that love measured in minutes open, people hired, and doors that stay unlocked. Lena steps to the mic and lets the air settle. I don't need to be saved. I need to be respected. All of us deserve to be seen as who we are, not as rumors, not as headlines, as people. She lets that sit. I've been called articulate like it's a surprise. I've been told what professional hair looks like. I've watched doors close, then get explained to me as policy. Respect isn't a tone. It's a choice you make in public and on paper. She lifts the one-pager. Respect looks like hours that work for families, labs that open on weekends, local hiring that's more than a press release, audits you can read, a hotline that answers. If we miss, you won't need a leak to know it. You'll see it in the data and you can call us on it. A breath. This love, our love, doesn't ask you to clap for us. It asks us to show up for you. Love is not rescue. Love listens. Love stands beside, not in front. Love makes room. She looks at the crowd, teachers, vets, kids in thrift store blazers. If you've ever had to fight just to be read correctly, I see you. If you've ever been told to wait your turn, I hear you. We're not asking for special treatment. We're asking for equal ground. She lowers the page. Silence. Golden. Whole. Holds for a beat. Then the clapping starts. Steady. Rising. Hands shoot up. Isn't this favoritism? She's benefited from proximity. Lena steps in first. Judge me by work. I authored the Community Safeguard Clause, the audit schedule, and vendor criteria. I led the needs assessment with St. Augustine. Our pilot plan cuts cost per cohort by 17%, adds weekend hours, and locks 30% local hiring. All drafts are time-stamped with cross-team sign-offs. My last 3 performance reviews say exceeds and predate any public disclosure. If you want receipts, they're on the site with the deed. A reporter checks the QR on the one-pager and nods. Another voice. Do you fetishize black women? Eyes swing to Ethan. He doesn't flinch. No, I don't define her. I listen. My silence helped me. It hurt others. I'm correcting that in public. 10% deeded, audits, community governance. Lena does not report to me. We changed the reporting line and added conflict of interest rules. If I misstep, I'll repair it in daylight. Follow-up. So, this isn't optics? It's accountability, Ethan says. You'll see it in minutes open, people hired, audits posted. Less of me when her voice needs the air. Lena closes the round. Respect is a system, not a speech. Hold us to the numbers. A beat of quiet lands, earned, not staged. Then the moderator. Last question. Pens move, cameras steady. The hard part wasn't the answers. It was choosing a structure that outlives them. The door eases shut on the last camera click. Quiet finds them. They don't rush toward each other. They stand there and breathe. One beat, then another, letting the noise drain off the room. Lena sets her clipboard on a metal chair. Her hands are steady now. Ethan loosens his tie a fraction and lets his shoulders drop. A small smile passes between them. Real, unperformed. "Thank you," he says, voice low. "Thank you for demanding the right thing." She nods. "Thank you for saying it out loud and putting it on paper." No speeches, no grand gesture, just the relief of edges that finally line up. Policy, promises, the way a room heard them. He reaches for her hand, then thinks better and lets the moment stand on its own. "I'm learning to stay behind when your voice needs the air," he says. "You did," she answers. "Keep doing it." A muffled cheer rises from the plaza. Someone laughs near the loading dock. Life resumes at normal volume. Lena checks her phone. Messages from teachers, a photo of Jay holding the one-pager like a trophy. She tilts the screen so he can see. He smiles wider, then caps it. "We have a lot to build," she says. "We will," he answers. They don't hug. They don't stage a kiss. They collect their notes, collect their breath, and open the door. Outside waits the work that proves the words. A crowd gathers under the new awning. Paper programs, church vans, school backpacks. Lena lifts the red ribbon. The city hums, then quiets. "Ready?" she asks. "Ready," the kids answer. The oversized scissors glide through. Snip. Applause breaks like rain after heat. The curtain pulls back to reveal the mural. Bright blues and golds, a city of open doors. Along the lower edge, a row of names glows fresh. Scholarship. Batch number 1. Jay finds his and bites his lip, trying not to grin too hard. A teacher wipes a cheek with the back of her hand. Someone whispers, "Look, my niece." Lena steps aside so the kids can see first. "Weekends open?" a parent calls. "Both days," Lena says. 9 to 5, hot spots at the desk. The library doors swing wide. Children rush in. Soft soles on new carpet, hands skimming spines, fingers hovering over keyboards that wake at a touch. A little girl tests a chair height, then pulls a book about bridges and sets it like a prize. A volunteer points out the grievance line card by the entrance. Another hangs a sign in Spanish about translation help. The space learns its own rhythm in minutes. Clicks, whispers, a printer warming up. Ethan stands back near the frame and watches the room fill the way a promise is supposed to. No stage, no speech, just use. Lena traces the mural's bottom edge with her eyes, landing on the names again. She takes one long breath and lets it go. The ribbon falls into a neat coil. The doors stay open. Lena steps up on the library steps and breathes in the room that didn't exist yesterday. Love is not just two people. It's the right to live fairly. She lets it hang, then adds, "Not charity, not optics, fairness. In hours that fit your life. In jobs you can count on. In data you can read. In a hotline that answers." A voice from the crowd calls back, strong and simple. "We see you." Others join. "We see you." Lena smiles, steady. "Say it with me. Access. Access. Local hiring. Local hiring. Audits posted. Audits posted. A number that answers. A number that answers." She nods toward the open doors. Fairness looks like kids walking into a lab and not being told to wait their turn because someone else wrote the rules. It looks like parents who don't have to beg for bandwidth or explain their hair at an interview. It looks like a community that gets to measure us, not just believe us. A beat of quiet glows. Then the chant rises on its own, fuller this time. "We see you. We see you." Lena lifts the one-pager. "Hold us to it," she says. "Because love shows up in the minutes we're open, the people we hire, and the doors that stay unlocked." The crowd thins to small circles and soft talk. Vivian steps out from the shade of a column, gloves in one hand, pride in the other. She stops a breath from Lena. The words take work. "We'll learn." Lena holds her eyes. No victory lap. "Start with FSIO, she says, steady. "Come see the labs, read the audits, talk to the teachers." A beat. Vivian nods once as if the motion has to be unlocked. "I will." Her gaze drifts to the open doors, where kids are discovering keyboards that answer them back. Evelyn arrives with a smile that has corners and history. In her hands, an oversized check, not for show alone, made out to the scholarship fund, memo line, batch number 2. "For the next names," she says, offering it to Lena. Lena accepts the board with both hands. "Thank you." Vivian touches the edge of the check, light as if testing its truth. "I'd like a tour," she says, quieter. "No cameras." "Tomorrow morning," Lena replies. "Bring questions." Ethan stands a few paces back, letting the moment belong to the women. He meets Evelyn's eyes. She gives the smallest nod. Yes, this. A teacher snaps a quick photo for the bulletin, then lowers her phone. No speeches, no stagecraft. Just an object passed from one set of hands to another. Lena angles the check toward the mural, where batch number 1 glows. More names, she says. Vivian looks at the doors again, then at Lena. More names, she repeats. The library hallway is bright and quiet, a ribbon of sun across the floor. Dust lifts and turns in the light like slow confetti. Lena steps out from the lab, a stack of intake forms under her arm. Ethan waits by the bulletin board with the weekend schedule. He doesn't speak first. They meet in the center of the light. He reaches up and rests his forehead to hers. Not a kiss, not a claim. Just a beat of peace. Breath in, breath out. The day hums on the other side of the door. Keys tapping, a printer warming, a child whispering, "I found it." "You good?" he asks, low. "I am," she says. "You?" "I'm learning," he answers. They let the quiet do most of the work. Paper rustles once between her elbow and his jacket. He adjusts it so nothing falls. "I like the sound in there," he says. "That's what fairness sounds like," she replies. "Not loud, just working." He nods. "I'll be here late. Vendor walkthrough." "I know," she says. "I put the checklist on your desk." A kid jogs by to the water fountain and waves. They step apart, easy, the way people do when the moment belongs to both of them and no one else. "See you on the roof?" he asks. "Sunset," she says. They trade small smiles and head in opposite directions. Back to the lab, back to the list, leaving the light to hold the space they made. Sun leans low and turns the city honey gold. Traffic threads the avenues like a soft, steady line. Wind lifts, easy. Lena steps onto the sterling roof with a folder tucked under her arm. Vendor notes, weekend staffing, a list of kids who signed up for the first coding class. Ethan is already there by the rail, tie loose, cuffs rolled, the day still on him. For a while, they don't talk. The skyline holds the moment together. Below them, the plaza banners move like they're breathing. He looks over, then out. "We're only just beginning." She lets the words land. A small smile finds the corner of her mouth. She turns her face to the horizon and follows the line where buildings meet light. The wind brushes past. Cooler now. Clean. "Tomorrow, vendor walkthrough, audit calendar, volunteer training," she says. Not as a list, but as proof. "And the scholarship letters," he adds. "Batch 2. "Evelyn already wrote a note for the first envelope," Lena says. "Vivian's coming by early. No cameras." They stand shoulder to shoulder, not touching, close enough to feel the same air. Down in Harlem, the new lab glows on a timer. Somewhere, a router hums and a printer kicks awake. He nods toward the spread of streets and water. "It's bigger than us." "That's the point," she says. The sun slips another inch. The line at the edge of the city holds. She keeps her eyes on it, steady. He does too. "Beginning," she thinks. "Beginning," he echoes. Quiet, certain. What stays with you isn't the chandelier or the press line. It's the choice. The quiet kind that costs something and still says yes. If this story were a movie, the review would read, "Strong leads, clean stakes, and a payoff you can measure. Minutes open, people hired, audits posted, a hotline that answers." That's not romance. That's respect. Money and status can open a door. Dignity keeps you standing inside. Love isn't rescue. Love shows up, in public, on paper, in practice. Fairness isn't a quote. It's a schedule, a budget, and receipts you can check. If you've ever chosen dignity over silence, comment, "I choose dignity." Are you on tradition or truth of the heart? Once or two, tell us one moment you held your line, at work, at home, in your city. One paragraph. Plain truth. Someone reading this needs your example. If this chapter spoke to you, tap. Like so it reaches the right people. Share with a friend who believes change should be audited, not advertised. Subscribe and turn on the bell. Next episode follows FSIO's first audit, the batch number 2 letters, and a quiet tour that might change a mind. We read every comment. We'll keep proving it in ways you can verify. Stand tall, love out loud, build the kind of legacy that pays what it owes, in full.